activity. It would be quite different if a place is 400 or 500 years old, where it has a history of many, many families living and dying there. So in that sense, I would be more drawn to a place like Belgrave. But Belgrave specifically, I was drawn to because I felt, in my opinion, it was very active.
Linda McKenzie also has the ability to see, hear, and communicate with entities.
A couple of days before we left, I had a dream, and it was of an old house with a staircase, and a woman in white was seen on the staircase, and I saw her go out into a garden. But I had not been really told anything about it. But being clairsentient, I like to work from feeling, and if I prejudge or pre-do anything, then it kind of sets up a criteria. So I like to go in with no judgment at all and just kind of walk in.
Sean Roop is a student investigator that helps me collect scientific data.
Most of the team had not had an opportunity to see the tape yet, because I had seen the tape as a news story before it had even reached ISPR. I had taped it and watched it over and over again to I was interested in it because, you know, it was supposed to be a ghost on tape.
So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to present the anatomy of an actual paranormal investigation.
Belgrave Hall was built between 1709 and 1713 as a fashionable townhouse outside the centre of Leicester town. It was built by Craddocks, who were hosiers, successful businessmen, successful industrialists of the early 18th century, and established the house here. From the 1770s, there was some degree of sale of land on the site. The one family that does come out strongly are the Ellises, who were the family who acquired the hall in 1845. John Ellis was a very important man. He was instrumental in doing probably the most radical changes to the property by putting Victorian extensions on and Victorian additions. And he also called the house Belgrave Hall for the first time. In 1936, it was bought by Leicester City Council from the Morleys as a museum of period decoration, as a social history museum. And it opened in 1937 after a substantial refurbishment. None of the furniture, none of the fixture and fittings date from the origins of the house. They were all sold in 1923 when the Ellises, the last Ellis died.
When we entered Belgrave Hall, there were two jobs for the investigative team. One, from the scientific side, to discover was it an actual ghost that was captured on videotape, and the other, for the psychics to determine if it was a ghost, then who was the ghost in Belgrave. For years, the locals have thought that Belgrave was haunted. I thought it was a great site because so many people have lived and died there since the 1700s.
Then, in December of last year, we had this mysterious video, security camera video. This caused quite a flap. We sat on it for some in the region of about 4 weeks whilst we really sorted out in our own minds whether there was a problem with the system, whether there was a problem with the tape recorder, whether we could determine what it was ourselves. And we couldn't. There was no problem with the equipment. And it was launched by a local television company who we asked to come in and help. From there it went literally around the world within the space of 2 days and became known as the Belgrave Hall security video ghost.
Actually 3 ghosts, not 2, 3. But there's between there and but there's someone there which shooting me.
All along the line, as a scientist and a technologist by trade, I wanted to look into the investigation. I wasn't prepared to take this at face value. We always are looking for reputable investigators, and Dr. Munn fit the bill as a reputable investigator, so I'm extremely honoured and pleased that he's come all the way from California to Leicester to spend some time here and look at the possible causes of our apparitions.
Under normal circumstances, I always ask the client not to give us specific information. In this case, it was kind of tough because the Belgrave tape had already traveled around the world. But we were fortunate enough to find out that most of the team members had not seen the tape. So I kept them outside of the property until the very last minute.
In all investigations that I've ever involved myself in, based over 25, 26 years, I've always made the point that I'd like no material, any information whatsoever, or whatever I'm going to do in my work. I also like to make that personal contact, that link with the individual, the spirit entity, to find out precisely who it is that is there and wants to communicate and whatever they want to say, not just to say, hey, there's a spirit there.
The common occurrences, I've been with the museum service for 12 years and I've been in charge of Belgrave for 2 years. The stories I heard going back those 12 years are of a grey or green lady, depending who you spoke to, going back into, you know, the last 20, 30 years.
I was walking up by St Peter's Church one autumn night about 5 o'clock, between 5 and 5 with my friend, and suddenly coming towards me I could see a figure. As the figure got near, I saw that it was a lady dressed in grey, and she got very close, and then I went to touch this figure and it disappeared. And I said to my friend, have I actually seen things, or did you say exactly the same as me? And she said, no, I've seen exactly the same as you have.
We've also, I heard stories about movement, footsteps, shuffling, that kind of thing, as well as the smell of food cooking.
A lot of the other museum assistants have smelt stewed fruits, stewed cooking, meats cooking, gingerbread. A lot of it tends to happen on the first floor as well, although there have been occasions sort of around the main hall, but funny enough, not much in the kitchen really. There's very little that sort of goes on in the kitchen with regards to smells.
During an investigation, I frequently smell different fragrances, from foul to sweet smelling. And to give you an example, on the premise of so in life, so in death, that when a person dies and they go into transition and become a spirit or an entity, they take their personal habits with them, and that particular fragrance that would uniquely identify them remains the same. So when I say I smell something, like a cologne or flowers, it's because it's what the entity brought forth with them into our space or our dimension.
Oh, someone loved the fish shop.
I didn't smell it before I came through.
No, I didn't either.
It's a fragrance here.
Oh, I just smelled that.
Did you?
Yes.
Smell.
Oh yeah, and that's a really nice one. Can you do that? Can you smell that?
It's sweet.
Can you? Yeah,
Here, you
it's
gotta
really
walk over
sweet,
there.
you know?
You smell it.
And you smell it over there. She's walking around. Residual smells are just like other kinds of residual energies, and they're trapped in the Earth's electromagnetic field in a certain area, and we don't completely understand why that happens yet, but we do know that on occasion, and it's very random, that smell or that sight or that sound will be heard over or smelled again or seen again over and over. There was like this swirling cold around my legs, and kept going around, I kept following it, and it dropped like about 4 degrees, and now I'm going back up. However, in association with the drop, all of a sudden my throat went extremely dry. It's like, it's like smoky, dry, like not cigarette smoke, fire smoke, like, you know, and it's all,
Really?
yeah, it's still like that. Jeannie has seen, or I shouldn't say really seen, but smell other things. One day she was trying out a new project actually on the range here, trying to, well, see if we could actually cook anything in them. We've never actually tried to cook anything in the range. And she wanted to actually see if she could do gingerbread with the children. She placed a cold tray with just a sprinkling of flour on into the hot range to see if it would actually take. Needed to go upstairs for something, and went to the top of the first landing and could smell tremendous smell of burning. She said, oh no, it's caught fire. She came running down the stairs to open the range and realised that the flour was still cold and nothing actually took.
Most of the occurrences that I heard about were residual.
Residual energy is like a footprint in time.
There are residual hauntings, and then there are real hauntings. Real hauntings have an actual entity.
The active haunting generally interact with you. They respond to you. They're cognizant of your being there.
Residual hauntings have energy from some kind of event, be it traumatic or mundane, but some event from the past that gets trapped in the Earth's electromagnetic field in a certain area, and on occasion we see, hear, smell, or combination thereof this event that took place.
In Gettysburg, there's people that claim when they go to Gettysburg, they hear the sound of war, gunshots, people crying, the battle noise of Gettysburg. Okay, that you look at it, you don't see anything.
Yet there was still the Gray Lady, and I wanted to find out, was there an actual presence there? And if so, who was she?
There's something also very important about the banisters here too, and I don't know what it is, but there's definitely energy just in the stairwells for some real weird reason. There's a lot of history there's history in this house. This is amazing, and it's something I haven't felt because it's old, you know. Every time we walked in that stairwell, I still felt this energy. When we first walked up the stairs, I was like, okay, there's something going on in this stairwell.
And she's seen coming down the stairwell as well.
Then last year we had 2 very positive sightings of a Victorian lady in her mid-50s with a red terracotta dress on, and the sightings were by Mike Snooks, one of the gardeners, and Jeannie Bilton, who is one of the teacher leaders. Mike was talking to another member of staff, and he was looking at the stairs, and like I said, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he was fully awake, he wasn't in a twilight sleep or anything like that. and stopped talking. The other member of staff jokingly said, "You're right, Mike, you look like you've seen a ghost." And he just couldn't believe what he was seeing. He actually did see a ghost. And she walked down the stairs, paused at the window, smiled, but didn't smile at Mike. She looked through Mike. She couldn't see Mike. Mike wasn't there, but he could see her, and then walked behind her. And at that point, he lost contact completely. But he was initially brought to the presence by his peripheral vision. He actually caught her in the corner of her eye as she was coming down the stairs, and then turned to focus on her, and saw a very detailed description of a 50-year-old lady, mid-50-year-old lady, with white hair, dressed in a Victorian terracotta dress. The second sighting is equally as intriguing, because Jeannie saw the bottom half of a lady, but at the same time, she didn't see a cabinet that we have on the landing. So she was obviously seeing this lady as, for want of a better word, as a window in time, where the cabinet wasn't there. And that was for a split second. So that got her thinking. It was a cabinet that really got her wondering of what was going on.
Now, I just got an impression or a sense that it's a female with big old glasses.
Yeah.
So we were talking like this, leaning over to see what we were doing. Right now.
I've never seen a ghost in my entire life. But I have heard movement in the hall when there's no visitors in there. The event stuck in my mind very vividly, because I'd just become the manager of the site, and as like all good managers, I wanted to impress and tighten up the management of the building. And the agreement, the insurers insist that if there is a visitor in the hall, then one of the members of staff must be on the floor that the visitor's on. I came in again around about 4 o'clock, 4:30, and heard the shuffling upstairs on what I presume was the first landing. I couldn't swear to that. And I said, "Is there a visitor in?" waiting for them to say yes, so I could say, "Well, one of you must be up there." Both MAs could hear it, museum assistants, and sort of had a wry smile on their face. And when I went up onto the both floors, there were no visitors in, and so they were quite relieved that I'd actually heard something for myself.
So was this the Grey Lady captured on videotape? Her case begins to build. The core team elements are always myself, Dana, and Sean. I decided in this case, because I always studied different clairvoyant abilities of team members, I wanted to find out what each team member could accomplish. In this case, Peter James was first. Because of his ability to see, hear, and communicate with an entity, I wanted to see if he could find the Grey Lady.
A few things. One being, I mean, it's obvious that there was a lot of military, if you will, activity here, dating back to I would say a Roman invasion.
This was an actual battleground.
This was indeed a battleground. Okay. Yes, a battleground. I also get the name of Daniel, which I hear ring through, Daniel. I get the name of George. Because they don't speak with the same kind of fluidity that we speak with, sometimes you'll just hear an R or an M or an L, and other times you'll hear the entire name.
Sometimes I'll see a picture in my mind, and I'll see a J come across it, or like for a J or whatever the name is. Or sometimes I'll just get a whole name, and sometimes it's so instantaneously I don't see or hear anything. I just feel it, and it comes right out.
Now, in the world of spirits, they have to, through the help of guides, they have to build what we call an ethereal mask, if you like. And in that ethereal mask, they then place their spiritual body into the mask, so it can be heard by clairaudience, even seen in communications by clairvoyance. I also feel that, through my experience, that it's quite difficult for them to actually enter and learn how to enter this mask. But when they do, when they've really got on top of it, their communication can be spot on and precise.
And you know what? Right now, as I speak, I'm feeling a cold sensation right here.
Cold spots are really, really important because that is our first physical indication, using our body as an instrument, that there is a possibility of a haunting or an entity on site. And when we do feel this cold spot, we do have to differentiate, gee, is this a psychic cold spot that we're feeling, or is this a physical cold spot where the temperature is actually decreased compared to the rest of the area? And that gives us an indication of when to use our instrumentation to measure atmospheric fluctuations.
Two temperatures that we take. There's a probe temperature, and then there's, I guess you could say, an ambient temperature. And so those are nice to have because you can really specifically find where a cold spot is, because you can actually take a probe for the temperature gauge and stick it into an area that people are saying is a cold spot, and you can actually measure that.
Is it dropping at all?
Yeah, so you're there.
Right, feel this. This is a cold spot. Right here. Feel this. Feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, see, and my legs are, I mean, it's cold in here, but, yeah, but my legs are freezing. When I encounter a cold spot, it generally is indicative of the fact that the place I'm investigating is active. Now here I'm feeling there's a female that I feel was in this room. I would say young, but not a child. Her name began with an E. And it sounds like Ellis, but with an E, not A. Like E-L-I-S or E-L-L, Ellis, like Ellis Island, Ellis. Like a Lady Ellis or Miss Ellis.
We have a lot of information about the sisters who lived here, were known as the Miss Ellises. There are 5 ladies who were very forward for the years, for the Victorian years, joined the suffrage movement very early on, part of women's liberation movement, and they did a lot for the local community, a lot for the local charities.
Now the investigation starts to take a direction. You know, we went from a supposed Grey Lady to now a presence with the name of Miss or Mrs. Ellis. So now I decided to bring in Derek and see if he would also get the same names or something different. This one.
There's a lady here as well. Yes. Here she is. That hunt is so special, even to this present day, because it builds the adrenaline for me, and it also gives me great satisfaction that at the end of that hunt, we can give positive proof, or try to give positive proof, that there is spirit entity, and not just spirit entity, but a consciousness of a personality that once lived here in the physical body, that's still the same in the world of spirit without the physical body. Okay. Right. This lady here, I can't tell you precisely of time, but she very gently and very sensitively, this is a good soul, a good lady, she calls herself Eliza.
John Ellis had 10 children, including Eliza, born in 1825 and died 1879.
It feels very medical. There's a medical facility, like a clinic or a hospital involved here.
You know, she had an impediment with her leg, her left leg. This is documented. You will find this very clearly on these over my eyes.
Isabella, born 1831, died 1916. And also on Isabella, she was also disabled. She was in a bath chair and had some structural alterations to the hall, so the servants couldn't get her up and down the stairs via a lift.
Her name begins with an L. It's almost like I'm not real good with the names, but like Lucretia or Letitia, something like that.
Lucy was the second, born in 1822.
Sometimes I'll feel something happening in my body, and messages will come in through my mind visually, or I'll hear something, not in the person's voice, but in a soundless voice. It's almost like a telepathic experience, I guess, where you don't have to hear the voice, but you're getting the information. And it's almost like talking through a void. You know, where you're not really, you're getting the words, but you're not hearing them, you're not seeing them. You're actually getting impressions on your mind, and I think your mind is interpreting that and then allowing you to speak.
So now it appears that I have a very strong case. The Grey Lady could be a Miss Ellis, and we could just walk away and call it a day. But because I have the most incredible clairvoyant team members, we can investigate even further. So I decided to continue the investigation and to find out, was Miss Ellis the only one on site?
If we wanted to go in there, there's one white ghost that hangs around. It looks like a little woman walking across the fields. Yet, wow, here we go. We found male entities. We found kids. We found women. We found all kinds of things. We didn't just find this one thing.
She has most definitely got strong links with this area, if not this building itself. She also has just told me that she lost 2 babes. 2 babes. One was lost through consumption. Consumption. Both these children were born. and she sadly had to, as she called it, bury them. And she does meet up with them, but she has to travel from here to meet up with them.
But there are 2 infant graves, Ellis graves, in the churchyard. Now I find, I'm struggling with this, because with them being Quakers, they wouldn't be allowed to be buried in the Church of England. They'd have to be buried in a cemetery. But because they were infants, I think the Church of England may have bent the rules, because they hadn't actually been confirmed to the Quaker faith.
I'm just hearing a baby crying or a child crying. Here.
Yes, I hear clearly as well.
Yeah, let's go ahead upstairs and see if you can find it. There's a child here.
Say that again.
There's a child here.
A child?
Yeah. A little girl as well. She's here. This is not resist. She's here. Hello? There's a little girl here.
Total chest. Yeah, me too.
She's a little girl. She's here right now, Larry. Look. Hello? Here, look. There's a cold.
You see her?
Right here. She's right here. Come here. Feel this.
Okay.
Feel this. Hello? Like, hello? Amanda. Amanda? Hello? She's here. This is not residual. Amanda. Show yourself, Amanda. Amanda, can you talk to me? Amanda. Amanda, she's here. This, I would say, is a definite hot spot. This is a hot spot. Amanda, can you speak to me? And also, you know, this. I also feel like there was another woman. I'm trying to Amanda. Listen. Hello? Amanda? Make your presence known.
After bringing in each clairvoyant investigator individually, I decided to bring in the whole team at once. Because many times on an investigation, the team members work very well with one another. One person begins a sentence, the other one finishes it. And I've also found that an entity seems to be attracted at times to a particular team member, and while it is trying to communicate with one of the clairvoyants, the others can see and describe what the entity looks like. So let's try another experiment. Earlier, we had some information on this little girl, and the name that we know, I won't say, but let's go ahead and see if you can tune into the little girl, okay?
I think she's around 4 or 5 is what I'm picking up. She's very fair-haired, this girl. Blonde, ribbons in her hair almost. Reds or pinks. She likes reds or pinks. Very sweet child. Very sweet child is what I'm picking up.
I will agree with the child as being female, same age, light hair, maybe strawberry blonde, light hair.
But it has tints of red, so it's not just blonde, it's more strawberry.
And I believe that
I got a quick glimpse of it.
I believe that she died from a disease like typhoid, cholera, something like that.
I think tuberculosis
Or
consumption.
tuberculosis, something like that.
Consumption. When I looked at the videotape, I decided that there were only 2 possibilities. One, that was an actual ghost captured on tape, and 2, that it could be an atmospheric condition instead. I knew that it wasn't a residual image due to the fact that this was a one-time occurrence. So I decided to not concentrate on residuals anymore, but to have the team focus strictly on what was active in the site. In this case, we found several other females.
There was an energy there, both male and female, both young and old. And there was quite a bit of active energy there, meaning that there were spirits there, entities there that I could communicate with, that I could identify by name, by gender, and I believe that they did interact with me.
And she run something, so you had people that had to count on her. Oh, she loved cooking. She loved it. She had pride and joy with the cooking. Yes.
We've had a number of reports, both from visitors and staff, of the smell of food cooking in the hall. Bearing in mind the hall has no kitchen facilities, contemporary kitchen facilities. It has a display kitchen of the 1850s. And people say the smell emanates from that kitchen.
That was a lovely spirit entity, a lady that all her life, she did explain to me that all her life, her life's work was, and her love was cooking. right from a very early age, the power of example, watching her mum in the kitchen, and she carried it through. And the reason why this lady made that statement is because she did tell me that she was known for the cooking more than anything else, even her own name. People used to talk about it in the area because of her cooking. So that was to give, in her mind, more proof when I described her and the cooking and what she cooked and how she cooked, more a description of her than basically just a name. It's amazing here. Oh,
Wow. It is very cold right here.
okay. Who's this? Annie. Oh, she wants to be known. Oh.
Wow, the temperature's dropped almost 20 degrees.
Well, she wants to come in to me.
Yes?
Oh, well, gently, please, gently.
You could step into Dana.
Yes. Will you all right for this, Dana?
Annie, you can step into Dana and look through her eyes so you can see.
She's coming round you. She's coming to the side of you now. Yes. I feel that this lady is quite proficient. She knows what she's doing. Okay. And she's trying.
Temperature's still dropping.
She just said, oh, I like this. I like this.
Sometimes when I channel or use mediumship, okay, I don't go completely out of body and I don't let them take over completely. This one, I was kind of in sync with her when she stepped in, so my body was taking on whatever characteristics she was putting forth, and I could feel her presence, but I do remember being fairly cognizant of what was going on at the time as well. I have the most bizarre tickling sensation up and down the side, right like that. Oh.
She's trying. It really is.
No, it's buzzing. It feels like tickling at my back and down my left arm.
She's stimulating. Great turn.
It's totally cool. You can just do it if you like. Okay, I've lost my left hand. I'm gonna lose my right really soon.
Do you want me to take the temperature gauge?
Can you see? Oh, I hope you can see this. Can you see the green color? It's green coloration. A light line coloration around you. She's trying to enter your phase of your aura now. She's coming in, I feel. She knows she's got to do it gently.
Well, nobody else does.
She knows. I feel this lady's she's done this before.
Wow. Okay. This is pretty cool because I think I'm going to stay here with her. Then that was a conscious decision on my part to stay, to allow her to continue. A lot of times that is contrary to what the parapsychologist wants me to do with the rest of the team. But there is some kind of seductive quality while this is happening that it feels good, it feels fun. I don't want to give it up. And I also know personally this is how I can contribute in our quest for more knowledge.
As a scientist, I always have to take everything into consideration. The scientific hits that we get on equipment, the clairvoyant hits from the team investigators, but also the physical sites themselves. Do the sites cause any type of phenomena like this? It was interesting in this case because as I walked around the exterior of the property near the church, there was a worker there that told me a very interesting story about a couple of bodies that had been discovered just recently without any headstones.
Yeah, while putting new drains in, we found several skeletons across there and also skeletons inside the church when we were digging for drains. There was a man, woman and child skeleton inside the church, but no real definition as to what they were out here. All of the bones were kept and collected and they were surveyed by somebody from the university, and then we held a proper burial and they were reburied in a grave.
Well, it's obvious that it's a dining room, and it feels like this is where there's also a Daniel connected, and there's also a Edmund.
We do have a couple of deaths in the hall. First owner, Edmund Craddock, I think Stuart might have mentioned this already, he only lived in the hall 2 years after its completion and then died, so we didn't really get to see a lot of what he'd finished.
You could give us maybe a name.
I have two, I'm not sure which one it is.
Why don't you give us those now, and then...
One is, I want to say William Tuttle. I don't know why, but I want to say William Tuttle. But I don't think that's exactly right. But I know that I think that's what I need to say.
William Van, who actually bought it after the Craddocks, he apparently died here. He was well into his 50s, early 60s. And then his 3 sons, who lived again well into their 50s, 60s, died in the hall. That would be William Jr., Richard and James.
William, what's your name? You're Jim, are you? You're James. This man is called James.
Now you can see how difficult our job really is. We have female entities, children, male entities. It's very tough to decipher what's going on in a very active property without the correct team members.
It feels like my shoulder blade is dislocated or something.
Really?
Yeah, that was from a fall off the horse. Right in the middle of the second part of the staircase.
Yes. Now, this man has hurt himself. He hurt himself, his back, his spine, his shoulders. He's standing here and he's showing me. He's standing forward like that and he keeps on pointing. So, how did you do this? Okay. Something about being out on a... was that hunting, shooting? Yes. And you were working for your master.
There's also yet another, before I tell you my next sense of what's here, there's also a playful female. Playful. But she's also a crook. She's a crook, meaning that she'll take things, even out of your pocket, like a pickpocket.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The thief identifies herself, another E, like Emma is what I'm told, Emma. And she was playful. She could have been a lady of the night as well. But it's Emma, and her last name began with an S. Emma S.
Can you look at me?
I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Someone was watching.
What? What did you say? Someone was watching. What was that? See, but this is interesting because this is the second time now that you were playing with your hair on the left side.
Same floor.
Excuse me?
Same floor.
Same floor? Okay.
An empath is someone who picks up information either physically or emotionally that is, they're picking it up from an outside influence. In my case, it's usually with the case of an entity.
You know, many times during investigations, we find that if an entity is present, sometimes they don't want to be discovered. If it's a multi-level house, they will usually move to the upper floors and create more of an energy wall or a negative energy to try to tell us to stay away.
I'm feeling a resistance here, and almost as if to push me away. There is a resistance here, and I'm feeling a constriction in my chest. There's a lot of activity here.
Second level, between the 2 master bedrooms, there's a hallway that overlooks the garden, 2 windows. Every time we walked by that area, I knew something was going on there. It was a very, very active area in the house.
I have chills up my back. We have someone right here.
Yes, we do. Hello. Hello. It's okay. That hallway was a very interesting hallway, first off, because it was extremely cold. There was a lot of negativity coming from that place, to the point where it made me quite nervous. There was a movement shifting so much so rapidly that I had never quite felt that before. And it was such a negative of a feeling that I needed to step back away from it because it was not a very pleasant feeling. We hit upon this small hallway, and there appeared to be an entity that was not so pleasant or not so eager to interact with us at that point, because I don't think it ever had anyone that really could be as empathetic with it as our group in there.
He's not prepared to talk or show himself. I feel male, masculine, but
Yes, so much.
do you?
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't come into this area before. As we come in here, it's very strong. You know, and he's resisting, without a doubt. He's resisting. He doesn't want to be exposed.
I'm going to go with Edmund or Edgar. Edmund or Edgar.
Is there a title or...
Sorry, forgive me. It's not. It's Edward. Okay. Edward. Sorry, forgive me.
That's okay.
Edward.
This is a perfect example of how well the team works together. Everyone felt this incredible negative presence, and everyone protected each other as we all stood together. In this case, the entity itself was overpowered by the team and was not able to harm anybody. We also found that we were able to still gain more knowledge and more information from the entity as well.
He is really cold to me. This is chilly. I'm chilly before. I mean, this is really chilly.
I think if he could, he would.
He's shouting, get out.
He would push us away.
Move, please, move. Yes, honestly, move.
The best analogy I can give you regarding how did I know that the entity was in fact aggressive in his physical life and that he could have been potentially in his spirit life, it's just like when I give a take on a physical being, I can tell psychically that this person is capable of being a rat fink, for example, or versus a very nice guy or person.
Later on in this investigation, when we were all collectively as a group in the side hallway, and there was an entity there that wasn't exactly the most pleasant, or didn't seem that he wanted to communicate with us, Derek in the team did not want us to pursue any communication with this entity and seemed to be a little fearful that something negative would happen, where the majority of the rest of us were like, yeah, let's do it. This happens, and this is quite normal, and especially with this kind of team, because everybody views what takes place and views the different entities differently.
Move away, please. He's going to
Drop in temperature.
He's here. Ed.
I wonder if there's more than one.
No, but I keep feeling like it's freeze.
Yeah, it's moving. Oh, no, now it's the cold's coming up again.
This is a hot spot. Definitely a hot spot.
Oh, yeah, I feel that.
He was an agitated, intolerable, quite a negative, sort of a bullish of a man that always got his own way when he was in the physical body, and he carried that over with him. So, of course, when I made contact with him, he didn't like all the fuss, and some spirit entities don't. Some accommodate fuss, some don't. He was one of the unfortunate entities that decided no. He was the only one in Belgrave that didn't like our presence there, and I said, my first opinion is I copied what he said. He did not want us there, and we did listen to him, and we left him alone.
We were all picking up in our own intuitive ways everything about it, and I think it was getting agitated, and it was agitating us in back. And so I think that's what was happening. And it was hitting off Derek, hitting off me, hitting off everyone. And we were all kind of reacting as it hit us, and also calming each other at the same time, putting out, energy saying, hey, we're together and it's okay.
I feel it dissipating right now. It's going. I think he's gone. But he's capable of violence. I agree with Derek. This is a very volatile entity, I should say.
There was an entity that was there that was so powerful and so negative, and unfortunately I have such a knack of picking up on the negative energies of ghosts, which is really weird. I don't know why. Maybe just because there's more presence to them, it's easier for me to pick up on that. But the fact is that when it's nasty, I am all over that. I know it's there, I feel it, I'm involved in it for some reason. I feel a sense of protection towards the team. It's a really strange feeling that I have. It's not the first time that's ever happened.
After completing the interior of Belgrave, I took the entire team outside in the rear of the property where this image was captured on closed-circuit television. Each member walked the path of where the image had been captured, so each person could give me their impressions. Was this an actual ghost or an entity that had been standing in that spot, or was it just atmospheric because it was raining? Anything?
Nothing.
Peter?
That's all. Talks about it, nothing.
I feel something very slight right here.
But there's something under there which shouldn't be. That's the wrong colour.
When I pass by an area, or when I'm drawn to an area that I feel that some kind of activity took place there, it sort of strikes me, it sort of hits me, so to speak. And I get a feeling like this is where I need to stop for a moment and take in the energy that was there, because it was in fact quite prevalent to me. I don't know that it was to others, but some of us differ in our take of different kinds of activity.
Let's go on. We know what sets the lights off. It's an animal, or a fox or a cat. The video camera is counting down. Then we get the unexplained image. The tape freezes for 5 seconds, and then throughout the remainder of the picture, which is on for a minute, we have an equally unexplained mist that moves in from the top right-hand corner along to roughly right centre of picture.
To my knowledge, there were 4 groups, 4 like ghost clubs in England that got to view this tape from the security camera, and all of them concurred that yes, definitely, this was an anomaly, this was something paranormal, and they came up with that it was everything from a ghost to a demon.
The world media really picked up on ghost, which we felt was premature until we'd done the investigations, but people will always see what they want to see, and the media is no different in that respect. So we went through the process of investigation and tried out rubber bats, tried out cut out moths, tried out everything that we could think of, close up to the cameras, away from the cameras and so on. And eventually we literally just threw some leaves in the direction of the camera, about 2 or 3 foot away from the light, and we got a fairly close match. There are a couple of things that bother me about this. One is that on the ones who are throwing up do appear and disappear, but you do get an element of movement on them, where you don't really get that on the original tape. That's just a fluke, I think. The second thing is that how did the leaves get up? Well, we're looking at some of the region of 15 to 18 foot above the ground when we've got a relatively calm night, very little wind. The wind was only 5 miles per hour. We've got a lot of rain, drizzle, so the ground was wet, the leaves were wet. So what is intriguing me now is where did the leaves come from to actually get to that point as the lights were activated by the animal. So it was a 1 in a million chance that we actually picked that image up. And it's now become a standard image that the British investigators can now use as a yardstick if this ever occurs again.
One of Stewart's theories was that a cat or an animal set off the motion detectors to initiate the lights, which actually were on several seconds prior to the image appearing on film. There were many practical explanations of what this image could be. However, I was able to determine scientifically that it was not a ghost, an entity, or any type of paranormal phenomena. One of the interesting points was the fact that if this was an entity, it would have to be at least 10 feet high. My second point is the fact that the image actually appeared on tape for the same duration as a raindrop falling in the foreground of the tape. In other investigations, we have found that if images are captured on film, that usually a ghost or an entity would be standing present for a period of time, or even seem to be moving or walking on camera. In this case, again, because it was such a quick image, as fast as a raindrop, obviously it was not a ghost.
The easy part would be to say that the property isn't haunted, but as ISPR, as a team, our job is to go in there and to investigate that thoroughly. We can't just say, okay, it doesn't look real, it's not haunted. You have to go in there and make sure. You have to check that out.
If I'm shown a photograph or a video of an actual entity or an actual ghost or an actual haunting, I get a sense of that psychic intuitiveness is overpowering, overshadowing my ability to perceive things. But when I looked at that video, that sense within me said, it's not real.
We found a lot of inconsistencies with the tape, a lot of things that made the tape not hold as much integrity, and we believe, especially after being on site, what caused that what seemingly looked like an anomaly.
There are a number of hits that you guys have had before you came in together, of course, and that's been working very well, like it did yesterday. So I'm pretty happy with the investigation. I agree. The area where you guys walked through was where the supposed entity or whatever they had captured on film, and I also know that the film is no good. So by doing an analysis of the film, we know that it was environmental and that the fog that was seen above the wall is strictly that. This was a very successful investigation due to the fact that, again, the ISPR team was able to locate and identify several entities on site at Belgrave Hall. It's unfortunate that the videotape was not valid and that there was no entity. However, the site is very haunted.
All members of staff here have heard things, smelt things. Only Mike and Jeannie and one of our older museum assistants, I don't mean that derogatory, but he's been here for a long time, saw a ghost a long time ago. But it's a different culture now. It's a much more open culture within museums. It's a bit like airline pilots and UFOs. Nobody reported them because they were frightened of being ridiculed. Some museums went through that to a degree, that nobody reported them to the curators and managers and so on because they were fear of ridicule and curators being quite close-minded to events.
What impressed me most about Belgrave was the fact that the Ellis family